is a new power in Mordor!
The year was 2017, a time when the PS4 and Xbox One were at their prime. Gamers around the world were now accustomed to the various genres of games in the flavor of the 8th generation of consoles. And out of the various genres, open world games seemed to be the hot favorite at the time. Naturally, there was no shortage of them, and consequently, the open world formula seemed to look a bit too familiar at the time. It was in this bubble of time when Shadow of War was released to the masses. This sequel to the 2014's excellent Shadow of Mordor was one of the highly anticipated games of the year, thanks to some strong gameplay showcases that highlighted a myriad of improvements from its predecessor. But all was not well at the time of release, thanks to shoehorn microtransactions on what is essentially a single-player experience at its core. Despite the excellent premise and a laundry list of gameplay systems, the game was criticized for its lootbox-inspired microtransactions at launch, overshadowing all the positive aspects of the game. Fast forward to today, and Shadow of War stands as a shining example of an open-world game from the generation past. But what makes this game so special? Amidst an endless list of games in the genre, here is a retrospective review of Middle-earth Shadow of War. Developed by Monolith Productions and published by Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment, Middle-earth Shadow of War is a sequel to the highly acclaimed Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor. Set in J.R.R. Tolkien's epic fantasy world, Shadow of War builds upon its predecessor's success formula by introducing new gameplay mechanics, an expanded open world, and gripping narratives by the way of quests and storylines that are unique to each player. More on that later. Playing the game today is a delight, as the developers set out to work following the initial backlash and rebalance the game while removing the microtransaction elements entirely. What we now have in our hands is a great game that is an example of what can be done when the developers think out of the box and are given free rein. Shadow of War is a visual spectacle that brings Tolkien's world to life in stunning detail. The game's open world is vast and diverse, offering a range of environments to explore. From the desolate plains of Gorgoroth to the majestic forests of Nurnen, each region is distinct and filled with secrets, side quests, and collectibles. The attention to detail is remarkable, with lush vegetation, atmospheric lighting, and realistic weather effects that enhance the immersion. Character models are highly detailed, and the animations are fluid, making combat sequences a treat to behold. But there are some areas that are in stark contrast with the rest of the environments. However, these are not significant enough to take the player away from the enjoyment of the game. Overall, Monolith's Firebird engine had worked its magic, and the visual presentation, while feeling distinct from its predecessor, still holds up today. Shadow of War expands upon the rich lore of Middle-earth, weaving a narrative that fits into Tolkien's mythology while also taking some liberties. Players reprise the role of Talion, a ranger possessed by the spirit of Elf Lord Celebrimbor, thus playing the role of both as they battle the forces of Sauron. The game introduces a wide array of characters, each with their own motivations and personalities. New and notable characters like Shelob, the enigmatic spider, who is portrayed in a rather unique and intriguing way, and Baranor, the ever-loyal soldier of Minas Ithil, are compelling in their own right, while returning characters like Gollum and Radbag are a treat to watch.
I thought I recognized that voice.
Ratbag?
So much to catch up on. Where do I start?
How about your...
The voice acting and motion capture performance are top-notch as expected from a game of this scale. That said, the story overall and the ending in particular may have some Tolkien fans scratching their heads when they put the controller down. But that doesn't matter, because the game has an ace up its sleeve which will have players hooked to the narrative that they forge along the way. All thanks to the nemesis system.
You, maggot! I will gore you like a wild beast.
Words won't hurt the little schrock, but our metal will!
A standout feature from the previous game, the Nemesis system returns with various enhancements, essentially becoming Nemesis 2.0. Offering a dynamic and ever-evolving hierarchy of enemies, the system creates unique and personal rivalries, as enemies remember past encounters and adapt their strategies accordingly.
Broke me down, but I have a knack for building myself back up. Here, I'll show you.
players will encounter and build relationships or rivalries with a wide range of unique orc captains. These interactions, coupled with the emergent stories that arise from the system, add depth and replayability to the game, making each playthrough a different experience. All of this may sound like one of those gimmicks that don't deliver at launch, but the Nemesis system is actually the driving force behind the majority of the playtime in the game. The system is integral to the story and gameplay in that it plays with the hierarchy and enemy classes to create unique encounters. The Orcs hierarchy includes grunts, your basic foot soldiers, captains, the middle level enemies possessing greater skill, durability, and unique traits. War chiefs are higher level enemies that are highly skilled and harder to kill, and they are tasked to protect the overlords, the highest ranking enemy class that lead fortresses and command armies. These designations can be filled by the various enemy classes like berserkers, who are ferocious combatants that thrive on sheer aggression and relentless assault, archers who specialize in ranged combat, defenders who are highly armored and equipped with shields, making them resilient against frontal assaults, assassins who excel at ambushing and surprising their targets, and beastmasters who command and fight alongside fearsome creatures like the Karagor. Each class of enemies has its own fighting style, and their skills vary based on where they stand in the hierarchy and their current character level. This forces the player to think and adapt to each encounter based on the enemy's traits. But we are just scratching the surface of the Nemesis system. It is in how the system complements the minute-to-minute gameplay that it really shines.
I like this one. Smells good. We'll make a real feast of him. Getting hungry just thinking about it.
Nosco.
Your captain friend's gone. But don't worry, you'll all be reunited wherever it is that dead men go.
The gameplay in Shadow of War is a seamless blend of open world exploration, stealth, and Arkham-style combat, which has been given plenty of depth with a satisfying mix of swordplay, archery, and special abilities. The addition of verticality and the ability to traverse structures using a fusion of human and elven abilities adds a new layer of exploration and approach to stealth. Then there is a skill tree that provides an impressive suite of new skills and upgrades to those skills, all unlocked by skill points which are earned by completing quests and certain objectives. These new abilities cater to various playstyles, providing the freedom for players to tailor their approach for each encounter. Player can also equip different gear which can be obtained by completing missions and killing captains. These gears provide additional perks to your current arsenal. One of the key abilities at the player's disposal is that of recruiting orcs and commanding them to certain tasks.
Suffer me now! Serve me! I swear to serve you!
Once in the army, the player can assign orcs to ambush other captains, level them up, or upgrade them with weapons that have status effects or with a group of followers or beasts. All of these systems serve as the brushstroke that paint the canvas that is the open world of Shadow of War. The game features main missions that are structured around various storylines and characters. These are standard missions that have you implement the skills you've acquired while introducing new ones. They often have a side objective that grants you additional rewards upon completion. Completing these missions results in the completion of the game's story. Then there are missions that are dynamically created to cater the Nemesis system. These missions involve encounters with specific captains or war chiefs, creating personal rivalries and stories within the game. They allow the player to further manipulate the power dynamics in Mordor, forging alliances, instigating betrayals, or seeking revenge against formidable foes. Eventually, the player will be able to bolster their orc army big enough to complete a siege mission. Sieges are grand-scale battles where the player leads their own army against the fortified strongholds of enemy overlords. These missions are pivotal in reshaping the game's world, as capturing enemy fortresses not only progresses the narrative but also grants players control over regions, unlocking new resources and altering the balance of power.
Great Lord, just say the word and we will unleash havoc. We stood together and we took our first fort. Now we will do so again and show our enemies what happens when Uruks are united.
These are just some of the mission types in the game where the player can hone their skills and cause as much mayhem as they please. But none of those would work if the characters filling the enemy roster were not compelling enough. Thankfully, this is where the game shines brightest.
I remember you, but judging from the look on your face, you don't remember me. It's all right. I was only a lowly maggot back then. After today, I guarantee you'll remember me.
Every enemy captain, war chief and overlord have their own distinct personalities, likes, dislikes, strengths and weaknesses. All of these attributes are reflected in their monologues when they encounter the player and their mannerisms in the battle. I once encountered an orc who's a bard and loves to sing just as passionately as he loves to kill Talion.
Prances, dances and sings with glee. Wherever there's strife, the singer is there. He slaughters and slays with such merry flair. I sing this song with all my breath. Take heed, for this interlude ends with your death.
Then there was another who was too lazy for a monologue and had his foot soldier speak for him instead.
He's so lazy he can't even be bothered to taunt you. Instead, I have to do it. So, here goes. You're ugly, and you're gonna die.
These enemies will remember you and your encounter and react to you in the next one based on the result of the first encounter. And this cycle continues until either the orc dies or is recruited to the player's army. Each of these characters have a chance to move up the hierarchy if they manage to kill you. They can betray their captain if you recruit and command them to do so. They can become deranged or a maniac if you shame them during the battle. They can betray you if you fail to aid them in battle or in defense of their blood brother. The possibilities are nearly endless with this system. I have played through the game 4 times now, and I have seen a regular slave orc work his way to becoming a war chief. And I've also seen war chiefs get deranged and level down from the high 40s to a single digit. It is in these intricate and intimate engagements during each player's playthrough where the player is kept engaged outside of the main story. For this reason, Shadow of War feels like 2 different games. One with tailored missions that tell the story of Talion and his eventual fate, and the other with the alliances and rivalries forged by the player in the open world. And that is not necessarily a bad thing. Leveling Talion up over the course of time to become an unstoppable force towards the end, and plotting the infiltration within the hierarchy of orcs, to assigning captains in preparation of a siege battle, all bring up the inner Talion in the player in the best way possible. And that is why Shadow of War still shines to this day. Middle-earth Shadow of War is one of the best open-world games of the PS4 generation, refining and expanding upon the formula that made Shadow of Mordor a standout title. Yes, the game does have a few issues. It takes a while before the game opens up to its full potential. Some missions can be repetitive, and the story might not be the best one told in the Lord of the Rings universe. But the various enemy classes and the groundbreaking nemesis system work in harmony to elevate the gameplay experience beyond the main story by fostering personal rivalries, political intrigue, and emergent narratives that immerse the player in a dynamic and ever-evolving world. Shadow of War remains an exceptional open-world action-adventure game that still captivates fans of both the Tolkien universe and the genre as a whole.
Protects me.
Kneel before me! You will serve the bright Lord!
So what do you think about Shadow of War? Have you played it? If so, what do you think about the nemesis system? Sound off in the comments, let's have a conversation going. Until then, I'm Ishak, and this video was brought to you by Ixie Gaming. You take care, stay safe, and keep gaming.